1. Welcome to Ed Talk TV, everyone. Conversations worth having. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Can we just give a little shout out for the tech working with us so far? We still have a little ways to go, but tech is looking promising today. Welcome those joining. If this is your first time, hello and welcome. If you are a regular, awesome, love it. Be sure to pop into the comments. That is where the magic happens. Now, let me give you a little bit about little background about the show before we dive into some quick content, little random news, and then we'll jump into our segment today where we'll have a guest speaker. So be sure to pop into the comments. I also have my phone down here just to make sure tech's working okay because we have a lot of stuff going on. So what is Ed Talk TV? Ed Talk TV is where the conversations are worth having. That's kind of like the little tagline, right? It's where we come and hang out and we talk every day, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. I know it's crazy going live, but it's awesome. For an hour, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 5 p.m. We hang out here. Hey, Chrissy. And we have fun. It's a talk show. So we talk about business. We talk about the user experience. We talk about a lot of things, including tech. If you've never seen one of the episodes, you're in for a treat. There's plenty of other episodes that you can follow up on because this one is 25, if I'm not mistaken, which is crazy, right? 25 episodes. And many of you guys have been here from the beginning, so it's awesome, and I appreciate it, and everyone else does too. Let me tell you, the reason why you'll hear me say, and why you hear me say it all the time, to comment is not just to help this video out, right? Because obviously Facebook wants people to engage with their content. My purpose behind you commenting is so that you can get discovered, so that people can start asking you questions, and so that you can find your next friend, your next client, your next prospective client, whatever. The point is that the magic happens in the comments, and that's why I encourage you throughout the broadcast, even if you're watching the replay. Replay viewers, I get a lot of you, and it's awesome. Be sure to pop into the comments, even if it's just to say hi. You know, today I had somebody who watched yesterday's episode, or is still watching, I should say, somebody's episode, my episode, not somebody's, and hey, Whitney. And so they commented today, though, saying that they're catching the replay. Like, that's awesome, and that's what's cool. Hey, Kim. Kim was also one of our guests recently. Hello, hello. Excited to watch. Yes. Hopefully tech will be with us today. We had some craziness the other day. For those who are new, this setup is a little complex, but so don't feel like you have to get your lives to look like this. There is a training if anybody's interested, but I'll put my Start Here page. Why? Because my Start Here page, I'm putting it in the comments for you, is where you'll find a 1, 2, 3 hit list. And that includes information about this show, where you can become a guest, where you can look at training, where you can look at the equipment that I use to get your conversations, your comments on the screen here. So keep that in mind. I'll pin it there so you have it. But I always like to give you guys info about the show and kind of remind you of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So that way you don't get intimidated to not go live because you don't have your banner or your logo or any of that stuff. Like, that's not what it's about. Usually I also, by the way, have my mug, but today's hot, you guys. Sorry for those of you who are dealing with cold temperatures. It's 75 and beautiful in my area. I know it's a rough life, so today we have iced tea because water just wasn't cutting it. So there you go for that. All right, so let's kick off the show with some random news. How many of you, and replay viewers, you can pop in the comments as well because we hang out. We do this even after the live. Okay, I call the comments, by the way, the after party. So this is the party when it's live. The after party is the comments, and then sometimes there's the after party, which is just my personal profile, and I'm just super casual. Could also be the stories for the page. So there you go. It's freezing in the UK. I know. I'm sorry. I will tell you guys though that loving this weather is not going to last long, I'm sure, because we will probably be back up at some point soon to those high 80s, high 90s, and beyond. And no, we don't do that around here. I'll be on this side of the country. Yeah, there you go with the nice weather, right? So, have you seen, and replay viewers, definitely let me know. Kim says yes, it's beautiful as well. Replay viewers, let me know. Have you seen the new Amazon commercial? Now, I'm not going to play it because, sometimes I'm weird. I just don't want to, hit that fine line of, getting in trouble because I'm showing you something for educational purposes. So I usually share my screen and I'll play videos and then I'll cut the sound. But I'm not going to play this one just because I don't know. You guys can tell me, what you think in the comments about that. But for this case, we'll just start with, have you seen the new Amazon Super Bowl commercial, I should say. You can pop that in the comments, even if you're watching the replay. If you haven't, it's interesting. And the reason I bring this up is because I shared it on my personal profile yesterday, and there's been some good conversation about it. Chrissy says no. Okay, perfect. There's been good conversation about it, around it, I should say, because they've done, it's clever. Whether or not you like whoever's in it, because there's a lot of big names in there, actually. But of course, one of the top ones that they mention in the ad, or about the ad, is Cardi B. So whether or not you like the people that are in the ad, that's a different question. What you want to look at, though, is the ad, and I can post the link to it later in the comments. But the reason I bring that up is because the way they've structured the ad is really clever. They've actually done a really good job by going through and having these different artists, actors, actresses, everyone in one scene. I forget how long it is. I don't know. I don't want to play it, so I can't remember how long it is. But anyway, it was actually really good. It was clever. It made me laugh, which that's something, you get a reaction, right? They got a reaction out of me. And so the reason I bring that up is because that's what you want whenever you're creating content. That's what you want to get from your audience, is a reaction, right? Why do you think that Facebook favors the reactions versus the like, right? Right now, it's all about the reactions and the comments. Comments are huge because Facebook wants you to dive deeper into the conversation. Why? Because that's how you grow. That's how you get connected. That's why I encourage you to comment and to share, even if you're watching the replay, because that's where you're going to get discovered. So it's all about taking that next step, right? We talk about that a lot. Taking the next step. So if you're a watcher, awesome. You took the next step. The first step was finding me, and then the next step was watching me, right? Okay, now let's get you to the next step, which is commenting. Then the reactions. And maybe those are reversed for you, right? Maybe you're like, I'll just do some reactions. That's fine. Then get to the next step. And then the share. And then dive deeper into the conversation with each other. Let's see, I don't know if it was yesterday. Well, every day we have really great conversations in the comments. But the other day, I think it was probably Tuesday, we had some amazing, amazing conversations going on. And as of this past week, you guys have been commenting with each other and really forming bonds. Like we're kind of a private little group over here, right? We have a good little community here that is really growing. I mean, we're international, you guys. We have international friends. We're dinner time talk show. It's pretty cool and it's a lot of fun. And you guys make this happen. So shout outs to you. Back to that ad real quick before we move on to our guest today, I wanted to bring up a couple points that people on my personal page had made comments about the ad. So that way you can go watch it later and then let me know as well. And you can always share here in the comments too. Tuesday was good. Awesome, Erica. So yes, Tuesday was good. Right. See, took a second. Erica was here on Tuesday, I think was our day, right? And we had a lot of tech glitches, but you know what? I had backup, so we were good. It took a few minutes, but we were good. And we should be fine today. Fingers crossed. We'll find out. But I have backup, so we're good. So when it comes to the Cardi B / Amazon ad, what was interesting is a lot of people were saying that made them laugh, that they liked it. But then there was a couple that really dove a little deeper. And one said that it's relatable to so many I want to read it what it exactly says. Relatable to so many. It reached out to multiple niches, foodies, comedy, pop culture, moviegoers, shows, the diversity of the product. Very effective. So that right there is huge. Amazon, if you're listening, that's your feedback. That's your specific feedback that you're looking for. Everyone else is going to like, and maybe share the ad because it's cool, but that's what you want. So if you guys were Amazon, that's what you're looking at. Then you would go back and you would comment with that person. You would engage with them. You'd say, thank you. And you could even dive deeper. You could start asking, relatable, how did it make you feel? You could just dive deeper. We won't go too far, but that's what you want to think about. Another one said, I love it. It's so different. A commercial to remember. Boom. That is what a well-made ad does. It sticks to you. It makes you remember it. It's fun. It gets a reaction out of you. You guys show up every day here, and if it's your first time, welcome. You're kind of stuck with me now, right? And you show up all the time because there's something about me. There's something about this show. There's something about the comments and the people that you meet in there that sticks with you. That is like, yeah, I want to show up. I want to cut out some time of my day, Monday through Friday, at 4:00 to tune in to Ed Talk TV because I want to learn something. I want to engage with somebody. I want to meet somebody new. I want to see what people are up to, right? That's why Facebook is doing this too. They're really wanting to dive deeper into the conversation. So just think about that. Keep that in your mind. I am going to get my headphones and I'm going to phone our guest. So this is the cool part of the show. Yes, definitely. There we go. I'm going to put this one on there. Definitely never miss out. Chrissy is always around and I appreciate it and I love it. Fun fact, you guys. So Facebook does this, and anytime you upload a video, they'll be like, most of them are really bad, right? Screen grabs, and then you can change them and stuff. But I noticed on one of them, I did it really well, and it was actually just by chance. But when you go like this allows Facebook to hopefully get a good screen grab, and then later, when this posts, hopefully it picked up. You never know, but hopefully it picked up. Later, if it posts that way, and it's a good one, I'll share it, and I'll keep it on the screen grab here. But it points directly to the play button. There's a fun fact for you. It allows you to go right to the play button because it will be right here in the circle. So it's pretty fun. Anyway, I'm going to plug in my headphones. We're going to give our guest a call here. So let me do that while you guys are talking to each other in the comments. We're going to go ahead and call my guest. And fingers crossed, we'll get audio and video all on the same screen. This is like big time. This is where I love like being able to do this stuff. Arlene, can you hear me? Oh, let me see. See, this is what we're talking about, guys. Tech. And then you guys should be able to hear me. Your audio sounds better with the headset. Yeah, Kim, it does, right? I know I should use it. I just don't like having this there. Let's see if we can get Arlene on video. Whoops. And Arlene, if you're watching, go ahead and turn on your video.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, brilliant. I'm not sure how to turn on my video.
There should be no worries. There should be a little blue circle towards the bottom of my face, maybe, that has a white camera in there.
Oh, wait a minute. There it is.
Let's see if that.
I had no idea my phone does this kind of shit.
Yes, that works.
Now, should I wait? Let's see here. If I turn it this way, should I turn it sideways like this?
You're good. Right there is perfect. I can see you. And guys, can you hear both of us in the comments? Let us know. I know it's a little delay, but go ahead and let us know. Perfect. I can see you and your portrait mode, which is great.
Am I? All right. Oh, I can see me. This is so funny. I see us on Facebook, and then I see us on my phone.
Awesome. Yes, and we're working. Pictures clear. We have audio and video. Shout outs to Ecamm and Skype. Thank you.
Oh, I love Ecamm. You gotta. Oh my God, that's brilliant.
It's so much fun, and look at how fun this is. Like we all get to hang out, and it's like being on it is a real talk show, but you know what I mean? It's like being on national TV. It's crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. This is really awesome.
So welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are, and then we'll kind of, go from there.
All right. Well, my name is Arlene Battishill, and a lot of the resident provocateur out on the internet because I'm in a lot of groups and I have a tendency to swear a lot, and that upsets some people, which makes me want to swear all the more because you need to loosen your tight ass and pull that pull out of your ass. Yeah. But the thing is I actually do know what I'm talking about, and that's why a lot of people respect that I say what I have to say, and I'm very strategic about the things that I say because, I've been on the internet a long time in terms of selling via e-commerce and digital marketing and sales funnels and all this kind of shit. And I have a certain amount of street cred because in 2008, I lost my big 6-figure corporate job thanks to the big downturn in the California real estate sector. And I had to reinvent myself at age 48. And as a woman at 48 looking to have to reinvent herself, that is not what you're looking at 48. Yeah. And you also don't want to be looking at unemployment and no income and losing all your assets and ending up divorced and all the bad things that can happen to you. They happen, and they happen to all kinds of people, especially when you have the loss of a job and the kind of pressures that happen as a result of that. But what I did in response to losing that job, and what I will say to you is that I didn't lose that job. They took it. Yeah. And I know exactly where that job is, and they won't give it back to me. But it's a funny thing. I saw my former employer, a former employee of mine, died not too long ago, and I went to the memorial service at my former company. And so this was 10 years ago, and I'm seeing people that I used to work with and used to manage, and the guy that I reported to, he was the president of the company, and I was right below him. And I just thought, oh my God, you people are all trapped in this box. Fuck you all. I'm free! And I am not ever going to be held economically hostage to anybody ever again. Yeah. And so it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me that they took my job away because I literally did reinvent myself. I had to come up with a brand new skill set. Sure. And figure out, how was I going to create a life for myself now that I didn't have this big job anymore and all of my assets went away and everything. And so I invented a product knowing absolutely nothing about what I was doing. I, was going to manufacture a product and sell it in stores. So not knowing anything about it, I just hopped on a plane with my trusty iPhone Chinese translator app and flew to China and spent 3 weeks in China, traveling all the way from the north in Beijing down to the south in Shenzhen over a period of 3 weeks. And I visited 17 different factories trying to see who could manufacture this product. And then I started manufacturing this product, and I came to market with that product in March of 2010, and we had a really strong 2010. This was strictly selling through stores, and so this was before Facebook had advertising, and there was a lot of internet selling. Amazon was not the behemoth that it is today, sure. And so I was selling primarily through stores. And within a year, the entire industry collapsed because it was still the remaining period of the recession. And in the span of 1 year, in the industry that I had gone into when I invented this product and then created it and then sold it, there were 18,000 retailers, and in 1 year we lost 10,000 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, we lost more than 50% of all the retail stores. And what happened as a result is all of the remaining stores absorbed all of the inventory from those stores that went out of business, yeah, and bought it all for pennies on the dollar, which sure. meant us as a new company, new brand, new absolutely revolutionary product, something that had never been done before, never been seen in the industry before. Nobody's going to buy anything from any of those people. Right. And so now we were stuck with no customers. because we weren't yet selling direct to the consumer. And so by 2011, we were hustling like crazy to stay alive. And so we went direct to the consumer using nothing but the internet. And just to back up a little bit, which will bring me into the world that I ultimately landed in, which is why you and I are talking. Back in 2009, I'd lost my job at the end of 2008. And so I started working on a project with this company, which I own. It's called Go-Go Gear. It's protective clothing for motorcycle riders and scooter riders. And I started working on that, and I realized that I didn't have the marketing budget that big companies do.
Sure.
And because all of my money was tied up in manufacturing and inventory and warehouses and all of the costs associated with running a consumer goods business.
Yeah.
And I realized that I needed to get the word out to people as much as possible. And at that time, there was no way to use advertising on social media because it didn't exist. There was no Facebook ads manager. Twitter didn't have an ad platform. Nobody did. But before I launched the company and the brand and showed anyone a single image, I went out on Facebook and Twitter and built this massive following of people just by talking, just building up the awareness that this thing was coming. And I spent 6 months doing that. And no one ever saw the product because it didn't exist at that point. I just kept telling them it was coming. And everybody's like, yay, we've never seen these before. We can't wait. We need it, blah, 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 blah. And the day that the website went live with actual photos of the product that were en route on, the cargo ship coming in from China, I was on a plane, and when I landed, my phone blew up and my computer blew up because I had so many emails, so much happening on social media. My voicemail was full because people could not believe what they were seeing. Sure. And it was real. And it was the most exciting moment of my life that I had gone from losing my job to inventing something, having no experience whatsoever, and then coming to this moment where the market responded in such a tremendous and magnificent way. And a year later, with that company and that product, or those products, I ended up on the TV show Shark Tank.
Nice.
So from that point forward, I now was all over the internet. And because I had used the internet so extensively to build this brand, I was written up in the Huffington Post, and all these influential bloggers were writing about me and talking about how I had done something no one had done before, which was to use social media to advertise a new brand, a new product, because nobody was doing it to that point. They didn't even know it. This was a time where people were squatting on usernames on Facebook and Twitter, and then they were turning around and selling them to big brands because the brands were way behind, the rest of us in coming to market with, social media was going to be the next thing. They just didn't see it. Well, I was out there in front of everybody, and I was using it to advertise. And then once Facebook created the ad platform, Ads Manager, I was all over it because I had spent years dealing with consumer segmentation. So I knew if I could find the people, I could sell the product. It didn't matter what it was. I knew how to talk to people to get them to buy.
Yep.
Because I couldn't, hand pick or cherry pick all the people out there. You were talking to the masses of humanity. Well, when the ad manager came into effect in Facebook, and then later on, a few years later, it happened in Twitter, it was like a freaking, gold mine for me because I could zero in on exactly who I knew made the most sense for my product.
Sure.
And I'll tell you this much, in, I think, 2016, I generated many six figures off of $7,000 in Facebook ads.
Wow.
And then 2016 was our biggest year. And because I went through 6 years of no income from my business. I slogged it out. I was continuing to subsidize my business. I had no income for 6 years, and 2017 was the first year that I actually started getting paid, and consistently. Yep. And now the business, 2016 was our biggest year. 2017, we were 15% above 2016, and we'll probably be 15 to 20% above 2018. And now, after all of what I put into that business, it just runs on autopilot. And what I do with most of my time, because I had built this, as a result of doing all of this work with advertising and understanding how to use social media, I built this huge book of business.
Sure.
of not social media. They were Facebook advertising clients. And then I started building sales funnels for people.
Yeah.
And I became a ClickFunnels certified partner.
Nice.
And now I wrote a best-selling book called Retail Shock Therapy that was all based on my experience with, small business owners and entrepreneurs and people wanting to change out of what they were doing in life into something else. And they were all coming to me to mentor them and coach them on how do you make this transition? How do you launch a product? How do you go from having a 6-figure paycheck to absolutely nothing, living without a paycheck for 6 years and live to tell about it, and do this all in the height of the recession?
Yes.
And so now I wrote this book because it was all based on, I was saying the exact same things to everybody in every single conversation when they would come to me as a consult. And so I wrote the book, and then I have just released a brand new podcast called What's Your Next Move? Because that is ultimately the question that everybody has to answer. That's what they're faced with. No matter where you are in your life right now, it could be in your personal life, your relationship, your business life, your family, the age that you are, we are all faced with something that we are bumping up against. It's a roadblock. It's something that we can't get around, we can't go through it, we can't go over it, and we feel stuck. And the question is, what's your next move? And people feel so much paralysis. And then you see, I don't know exactly who your viewership is, but you'll find a lot of people who are spending tens of thousands of dollars on online training programs. And the reality is that people have to understand you don't start learning shit, you start launching shit, and that's where you learn. You don't have money to learn shit. You got to have money to launch shit, and then from the shit you launch, that's where you're going to learn. And then and because there was none of this stuff that we do out on the internet today. When I launched my company and that product, I had to figure it out as I went along. There was no sitting around reading manuals and, watching 50,000 videos and instructional, modules and shit like this. I just had to go out and do it. And it cost me a lot of money to figure it out as I went along. Sure. But that's how I ended up learning everything I know, which is why I never buy any online training programs except ones that are absolutely critical to some very specific thing I'm trying to do in my business right now. And my attitude is, if I'm going to learn something, it better translate into my next dollar that's coming in tomorrow, or I don't need to learn it because I don't have time to wait for that dollar to come in. Right. So that's me.
I love it, and there's a few notes that I made and a few comments that came through. So we'll get to those, you guys. That's awesome. I mean that's what we're talking about here, you guys. Especially replay viewers, pay attention. Jump into the comments, say hi, and make share your feedback based off of that. That's what I'm talking about. A couple things I want to point out. Chrissy wanted to mention she invented her own product and wanted to know what your advice would be to get seen. So we'll come back to that, Chrissy. But I wanted to point out a couple things. You nailed it. You said 6 years of no income, yet you still kept moving forward. So what did that really look like in terms of there's going to be people watching this that are going to think, okay, well, I'm 6 months into my business, or I'm a year into my business, or I'm 2 years into my business, and I'm not generating enough income to sustain this. How did you keep going to get to that point where you did start to make that money? I mean, it's in for the long run,
Well, the thing is, as I said at the outset, this all happened to me at the height of the recession. Yeah. So for anybody who's going through 6 months or a year right now of an incredibly robust economy, you need to get over your damn self. I'm sorry. I don't have any sympathy for somebody who's saying, boo-hoo at this point in time. The money is there to be had, and there's only two things you have to worry about. One is, do you have the traffic? And two, do you have the right sales pitch? Meaning you've got the right product and you're talking about it in the right way that's going to get people to buy your product. And those are the only two places where you're going to ever fail. And if you've got the right audience and you've got the right ad, you're going to have to spend money on ads. And the best place to spend your money on ads is Facebook advertising. It's so freaking simple and it's so inexpensive. I mean, I spent $150,000 in 1 year traveling all over the world to these freaking trade shows and didn't generate a dime in sales as a result.
Right.
Oh my God, what I could do today if I had that 150 grand back
Right.
using Facebook ads, are you kidding me?
Yep.
And I told you what kind of results I had, a year, 2 years ago with just $7,500 in Facebook ads. Because, all you have to do is make people aware that you're there, and if they like what you have to offer, they buy it, they like it, they call their friends.
Yes.
My customers, I've got 10,000 people on my Facebook page. They are rabid fans. So I don't have to say much that all I have to say is, oh, I've got a new product, ka-ching, 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 and just raining money on me.
Yep.
And so, I don't mean to be disparaging of anybody who's in a situation right now where they're struggling to get their sales.
Sure.
But number one, you've got to get over that you're struggling.
Yep.
That's the reality of what it means to be an entrepreneur. We struggle until we get to a point where we reach a critical mass, where we're selling enough, we have enough customers, that they then do the work for us, because it's all word of mouth at some point.
Yes.
But between now and that point, when you hit that critical mass, you have to do the work, and you're going to gut it out, and you're going to want to quit every single day, and what you do is go fuck yourself. Because that's, that's all you can do.
Sure.
Because here's the difference. Either, most people are all hung up on, oh, I'm not sure I have the confidence in doing this or that. No, they lack the conviction to do what it is they say they want to do, because your confidence will come from your conviction.
True.
That's how this works. And if you're in business right now and you're not getting the sales, if you truly believe in what it is that you're doing and what you're selling, then it's just a matter of figuring out, do I have traffic? Do I have the right traffic, meaning the right audience to show my ad to, or to show my product to when I send them to my website? Do I have a shitty looking website? Am I making them hunt all over my website to find the product that you were talking about on your ad? Or have I sent them to a place where I'm talking passionately about the product that I want them to buy, and I'm presenting it to them in a visually appealing way that makes them say, I have to have this.
Right.
It's that simple. And you have to understand, if you're going to be in business for yourself, get used to not having any money. Yep. Get used to doing 5 other things like I was doing. I had to gut it out and do so many other jobs while I was building this business full time. Yeah, exactly. Every one of us is in this situation.
Yep.
And you can't have a pity party. You can't afford it.
Right.
Because you have to understand that you are doing something that only a teeny tiny percentage of the population ever has the guts to do.
Yes.
And either you gut it out or you get out. And you've got to decide who you are, what you're made of, and what you're willing to do. And understand, you will fail along the way. But here's the reality. You've done the one thing that nobody else has the courage to do.
Yep.
And if one thing fails, what you've done is learned. You didn't actually fail. You learned. And you pivot. And the first product that I was going to come to market with would have been disastrous for me had I not listened to some really important people who knew what they were talking about, who knew the industry better than I did. And had I come to market, I would have lost all of my money.
Yeah. And
I pivoted. After spending $80,000 developing something, I pivoted into something else that ultimately became what it is today. And so if you're struggling to get those sales right now, what's your move?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? You can't sit there and bemoan the fact you don't have the sales. You have to figure out, all right, why don't I have the sales? Either you don't have the traffic, either you've got a shitty message, or your product sucks and nobody actually wants it. And usually if you have a shitty product, it's because you didn't do your homework to make sure that there was a big enough audience who actually wanted the shit you're trying to sell them. Because the reality is I can sell anything to anybody if I talk about it in the right way. Even shit that people don't want. So there's all kinds of ways to sell your thing. You just got to start thinking about, okay, how do people buy? Why do people buy? They see an ad. Do they like it or not? Yep. If they don't like it, then fix it. Yep. Make a different ad. You keep tweaking it. Test. And then you get them to your landing page or your website. It's like, well, what are you doing there? You got a shitty looking website. You better fix it. Because everything is, you only have one chance to capture people's attention. If you get their attention, you got to make sure that you follow through to the end to close the deal. And that means you've got to be talking about your product in a way that people haven't thought about before, where you're presenting it to them where they go, oh my God, I have to have this thing. I don't want it from anybody else because this is the one. And then you've got to deliver customer service in a way where people say, I won't buy from anybody else because I can't even believe the kind of service that I get. And that's what people say about
Yes.
my company's customer service every time. You read the reviews on my website, left and right. All they talk about is the kind of service that they get. And that's why I can send out an email to my huge email list and say, oh, I've got, this sample I want to get rid of. And I'll have 150 people say, I want it.
Yeah.
Or, I'm cleaning out my garage and I'm selling all these samples that I had made. I've got 150 of them. Just, give me an offer. And they clean out my garage for me.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's
there you go.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
That's the important thing, and that's what we have talked about on this show too, is that you have to keep testing. You have to keep trying. You have to start. You have to start. I mean, that you just don't know, like with this show, I knew I needed to do something different on Facebook for my page. Yep. And for me, once I knew it was a talk show, it clicked and it was like, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm natural at.
There you go.
And
absolutely.
Boom, everything else just falls into place. Relationships, creativity, work, all of that, everything falls into place, and that's what works. People are loving.
Ed, I got to tell you something. This is really funny as I'm looking at what's in your room there.
Yeah.
There's that picture on the wall, and I'm holding my hand on my chin, and that chimpanzee's holding his hand on his chin. And I'm like, all right, we in sync, baby.
I love it. So fun side story for that is I got that a long time ago, and nobody has actually brought that up on the show. Nobody has talked about it.
I love that so much.
And it's hilarious because I just thought it was fun artwork, and I was like, I'm always thinking of something different. I'm always trying to think of what to do next. And so it just was there, and so I haven't replaced the wall art with anything else, and it's funny.
Love it. I love it so much. He looks so pensive and thoughtful, and, he's listening in on us. And what's funny is on my phone, the picture of me is actually in the upper right corner of the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And so the picture of the chimpanzee holding his, like this, and he's looking up, so he looks like he's looking at me. It's the funniest thing.
Now you got to take a screenshot of your phone.
Oh, my God, I'm going to do it right this second.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. No, I can't. Otherwise I'll probably disconnect you. Sorry. Okay. You were saying.
No, people are loving you in the comments. You'll have time later that you can jump in there later. But they're loving you. They're loving everything. Okay. Thank you guys for commenting, even replay viewers. So we talked about the 6 years no income. Like that's just how it goes with the entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it sure does.
Now, book, because this was something we talked about with another guest the other day about creating a book. And so how did you know that the book was something that you wanted to create? I know you kind of briefly mentioned that people kept asking you the same question, but what kind of made you want to do a book versus, whatever other things that you could have created?
Well, the big thing, seller status on Amazon, you get to call yourself a best-selling author.
There it is.
I mean, come on. It's on my profile all over the place, and I get to say, hey, I'm a best-selling author. You don't have to sell 150,000 copies. You just have to have seller status somewhere, and now you're a best-selling author. But I needed to write that book because the stories were the same every single time. And now when people come to me and they start telling me, the usual startup story or whatever. Sure. I say, look, I'm going to send you a copy of my book. You read this book, and then if you still have any questions, you call me.
Yeah.
And then they all go away, and they get a free book for me. Because my time is valuable. I charge $500 an hour for somebody to talk to me.
Yeah.
And that's my cheap rate. And so I don't want to spend an hour on the phone saying the same thing I've said to people 1,000 times because they haven't done the work up front to get to a point where I can actually help them. It's like I see all over the internet on different Facebook pages and private Facebook groups where people are jumping on the bandwagon to the internet, and then they say, okay, here I am. I'm ready to go. I bought all these tools. I bought all these online training courses, and what should I sell?
Yep.
And I want to stick a fork in my eye because it would feel better than have to deal with somebody who hasn't got a fucking clue about what they're doing.
Right. And that's the thing, when it comes to it. And Tammy, I'll get to your question here in a second. But that's the thing. It's like you have to have some understanding. You have to do your research, even if it's not something that you're trying to do as your own. Like if it's not your zone of genius or whatever, that's fine. But you still should do your research so you have an idea of if that's the way to go or not. And everyone watching, by the way, replay viewers, I mean, you just got free 99 for this hour. So you count your blessings and thank her big time because You just saved $500, by the way.
Well, and here's something too, Ed.
Yeah.
Just this thing about doing your homework and making sure you understand what you're doing.
Yep.
The reality is that I had not done my homework on the original product I was coming to market with, because I thought, well, I need this thing. Everybody else,
Right.
It's obvious everyone else would need this. And you can't use yourself as the customer for something just because you need it. You need to skip that, because I can guarantee you, if you need it, nobody else needs it.
Exactly.
And so you must do your homework, and I'm going to give you the best piece of advice you and anyone else is ever going to get, and it's the most counterintuitive thing you're ever going to hear, and that is, when you have an idea for something, it is not your job to convince everybody else that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Your job is to poke as many holes as possible in that idea to see if it still floats.
I like it.
Because if it still floats, you've got something. But if you start poking holes in your idea, you owe yourself to do this. Otherwise, you're going to bankrupt yourself, because
Sure.
you're so attached to this idea that you can't accept the possibility that maybe it won't work, because you're so afraid that if it doesn't work, that now what are you going to do? Now it's the end of your world and your life.
Yep.
Well, the reality is, you have to remember, you came up with a unique idea in the first place.
Right.
And then you decided you want to do something about it. And if it didn't work, you're going to have another idea. You don't get just one great idea in life and that's the end of it.
Right.
The fact that you had the idea in the first place means you've got more coming. But if you come to understand that there's a fatal flaw in your idea, and you go forward with it, you're screwing yourself.
Yep.
But if you take that information and say, oh, well, is there anything about this that may still work, that if I pivoted with it, it could turn into something else? And off you go. But people are so hard and fast about that something is one thing and only one thing. This is how people lose their money. Now, I want to give you an example of something,
please.
Why you cannot stay in one place all the time with one idea about something. Because you never know how the consumer is going to respond to you. And so people will spend all their time and all their money developing products. They don't do their homework. They'll develop the products and they'll throw all the bells and whistles in, and nobody will buy the shit. They'll hear crickets out there.
Yep.
And let me tell you, when I first created my company, the product that I had made was just for women who ride scooters. And the company was called Scooter Girls.
Very specific.
So really cute name. Yeah, it was very specific. Yep. Well, as soon as I launched the product out on the internet and people actually saw it, here come the women who ride motorcycles, and here come the men.
Yep.
And they're like, what about us? And I'm like, oh, fuck me. I'm screwed here. Because the women riding motorcycles and the men were not going to wear a product with a brand named Scooter Girls.
Right.
And I had spent $10,000 trademarking that name.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to ditch the name completely and come up with a different name and trademark that one, because the market told me something different. And so, people are so quick to say, oh, I need to trademark this and patent this and all this kind of shit. You don't spend any money until the consumer tells you whether or not what you've given them is what they want. And so you just have to you just have to understand, you come to market with a minimum viable product. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. You just float something out there and see if people respond to it. It's how you keep your money in the bank instead of having to go to the bank to get a loan because you made stupid fucking decisions out there.
I love that, and I just put that quote. Hopefully it's almost to the exact point, but that was good. I put, you don't spend any money until the customer tells you what they want. That is huge, and I love everything that you're saying right now. Well, everything, of course, but what we just did, because Whitney called it out. We actually literally just had this conversation the other day on the show, where you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. You don't want to do, I've had potential clients actually come to me for advice because we were in a regular workshop meeting, and after the meeting they were like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let's ask him. And they unfortunately had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing an app that isn't even done yet to get to the market.
Stupid.
And they are living a life that they're not happy with, and they have roommates, like the list went on, and it's just like, it just kills me because it's like, why would you do that? Like, why? There's something that you missed at the way beginning, and I don't want anybody watching this to put themselves through things like that. Even if you think your idea is the best thing on earth, you have to test and you have to put something out there.
And you know what? A lot of times people come to me, I mean, people do this on the internet all the time because I've spent so much time with consumer products and with understanding how consumers behave and why they buy. I've been a speaker at various industry trade shows in the fashion industry and other things. And, you know, hundreds of people, they see you talking on a panel and they come rushing up to you afterwards and they tell you all about this great product, and they can tell me in about 3 seconds what it is that they want to sell. And I can say, you're fucked. And I can say, who wants this? Why do I care?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I say to people, why do I care? And I don't want to hurt their feelings, but I don't want to waste my time.
Right.
And the reality is you have to look at whatever it is that you want to do and say, why should the consumer care? Who gives a shit?
Yep.
And if you start with if you start from a place of saying, who gives a shit? And then you can answer the question, who gives a shit and why? Then you've got something to work with.
Yes.
But if you can't answer that question, or if you say, yeah, but it's got this and this, it's like, I don't care. This has nothing to do with this. Why should I care? You're showing me a bunch of shit. You're trying to sell me the facts and the figures and the features and the benefits of all this shit.
Yep.
It's like, who gives a shit? I don't care.
Yep. Well, and like you had mentioned with the scooter, you guys, even watching the replay viewers, or even the replay viewers, specific. Like, I know, especially when starting out, guilty, we all do this. We want to do all these different things all at once.
Oh my God.
And see what happens, because we're just tossing everything out there. But I will tell you, even from my own personal experience and client experiences, that the more niche down, the more specific you can get, because you want to be more exclusive, right? That's when you start seeing your audience come out. That's when you start, like you had mentioned, you know, you started getting attraction from the male audience. And then you had to figure out what you were going to do, if you were going to stick with just females or if you wanted to go both. And then you had to make changes. Like, that's on a tiny little niche audience with a niche product. But, you know, the one thing you have to understand about this that's so valuable is that when you have a niche audience, you don't have to have a lot of them because they're all buying from you. Yes.
And then they tell all of their friends who are like them, like the motorcycle riders. There's all these, you know, women's bike groups. They're all over Facebook. And all I do is post something, and it just ripples across the internet in about 5 seconds like wildfire because they all talk about it. My email list, I mean, I could generate $1 million a year just off my email list.
Yeah. Well,
and my email list is not that big, but because it is such a specific product and a niche audience, people think that if you have a product and there's millions of people that might want to buy that product and think, oh, that's the way to go, they don't realize those people have millions of other options. And think about this. I was on the TV show Shark Tank. There were 6 million people who I had a free 15-minute advertisement. That's what that was for me. It was a 15-minute product placement advertisement. 15 minutes on national television on a Friday night.
It's crazy.
And the reality is I did $8,000 in sales.
Wow.
6 million people. They were the wrong people.
Yep.
I don't need 6 million people. I need 600 who actually makes sense for my product.
Yes.
I'm going to the bank on 600 people if I've got a product that sells for $250. Come on.
And that's
do the math.
Exactly, you guys, if this is your first time watching the show, we talked about this, like almost exactly to the T, that less is more, and you want to have less clients, less having to worry about all that other stuff. Like, you want less is more, and that's the key right there. Same with why I tell you, don't worry about, and replay viewers, I'm talking to you as well, don't worry about your followers in terms of the numbers. Don't worry how many likes you get. Don't worry how many, you know, whatevers. Like, your focus is to have a plan, show up, deliver, and engage. That's it.
Absolutely.
And understand that word of mouth marketing is still number one. It always has been. And what I see a lot of people doing, and you can let me know if you see it differently or whatever, but what I see a lot of people doing is they automatically will skip straight to a Facebook ad or whatever ads, start throwing money down. They don't know their product, and or they haven't even tried word of mouth marketing. They just went straight to the ads, and then they spend all this money and they're not attracting anybody because they're trying to talk to everyone.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times The million
Right.
people have not given you any indication that they want what you have to offer. Yep. Why are you trying to reach a million people?
Yep.
Go look for, 10,000 people or 20,000 people who have expressed a very specific interest in what you have to offer.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's so simple, and yet people just think more is more.
Yep.
But I can tell you for a fact that I made a strategic change in my business in late 2014, where in the fashion industry, and my product is not a fashion product, it just looks like it. In the fashion industry, anytime a designer comes out with a collection, it's got like 35 pieces in it.
Right.
And think about this. If you're manufacturing something and you've got 35 different styles, you have to manufacture 35 of those things. Yep. And in multiples of 1,000 each, because that's the minimum order quantity for a factory. I went from dozens of offerings down to 2. Yeah. And my business exploded because now people understood what I do and that this is all I did. They can want other things from me, but they knew I was the place that they could come to get this very specific thing. I had invented it. Yes. I knew more about it than anybody in the world. And that's all I sell, because there are many more people out there for me to sell that one thing to than for me to try and find people to sell a whole array of things. Oh, yeah. And I heard something, this was at Funnel Hacking Live last year, and this was a guy that he sold tens of millions of dollars worth of stuff on Amazon. And he said that for every different style, size, color, those are all different SKU numbers.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
It's like the little ID tag for the number. You are multiplying the number of problems you have by 12.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't kidding. So I'm like, I'm keeping my 2 little products, and I'm going to shut up and just go to the bank.
Yep. And that's the key. And Tammy, I will get to your question here before we wrap up. But that's the key, is less is more. And I even noticed that when I redid my website, and I really niched down to very specific, this is the web design I offer, this is exactly what you get for XYZ, or if you need something a little bit more major, here it is. Done. Mm-hmm. And explode. Like, it's exactly what you're talking about. And that's what I want you guys to take away. Remember, even if you're just starting out, you can have all of these crazy ideas. We all do, and it's great. Make note, pop them in a drawer, whatever, but understand that you want to see why do people care? Answer that, and understand, like, you only need to have technically one product or one service. I mean, of course you can always expand, but again, that's why I encourage you to comment, even if you're watching the replay, because you have you have multiple opportunities because you can comment, but it only takes one person to discover you. You drop a comment,
absolutely,
and they're like, "Hey, I like your picture," or "Hey, that was a great, insightful comment. Let's have a chat." Mm-hmm. Like, that's how this all works. And so keep that in mind. Before we go, I wanted to ask you, Tammy had asked, if you self-published for the Amazon bestseller. Yes. So
yeah, I did.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Because why not? What do I need a publisher for? If I can get that book published and it hits bestseller, I'm a best-selling author on Amazon. And I've got the little screenshots to prove that it said bestseller. It lasted for about 4 seconds, but I got that screenshot. I got proof.
Yeah.
And now I can say that this is the case. But the thing is, if you write a book and you publish it, you become an authority. I mean, how many people have actually published books? Right. Not that many. And so if you have published a book, it's something that it opens doors. When you tell people that, you're the best-selling author of a book, or even that you have written a book, people are like, whoa, really? Oh, sure. What's your book about? They want to talk. It's absolutely something that can open doors for you. But, one thing, there's an important thing that you just pointed out, Ed, real quick before we wrap up, is this business about being visible and posting comments and so forth. Let me tell you something. It was a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, I can't remember. It was in January that year, and I'd had a conversation with someone, and I was really frustrated about, where I was going to go with all of my consulting business and my clothing business and all this kind of stuff. And this guy said to me, he said, Arlene, every single one of the private Facebook groups you're in and just start talking.
Yep.
And he said, everything's going to open up for you. You won't know what's going to happen. You just need to start talking and make yourself visible. Well, within 4 days, within one group that I was in 4 days, I had more business than I knew what to do with. And I wasn't there to look for business. I was just trying to get a bit more clear in my direction about what I was going to do. Well, that direction became very clear to me based on how people were responding to what I was posting in there.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, everybody's, on the hunt to get, Arlene, can you be on a podcast? Can you talk about this? I love your posts, and people are following me all over the place, and I'm doing Facebook Lives all the time, and I'm just talking about shit.
Yep.
And it's like, holy shit, I didn't know this was going to happen. And now, thanks to someone that you're connected with, Kim Doyle, who's absolutely magnificent with content creators, WordPress chick. She's an amazing person at connecting people, and she is just the most unbelievable person. She's the one who said to me a week ago or 2 weeks ago, she said, Arlene, you really need to have your own podcast. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know anything about podcasts.
I love it.
And so today, it was launched on iTunes and Google Play, and it's called What's Your Next Move?
Yes.
And I'm going to be talking about the kind of things that we're talking about here, and also this whole issue of transitioning from where you are today to where you ultimately want to be to have the life that you want to have. And this isn't like therapy, it's strategy. It's like, how do you go from there to here? What's your next move? Because in thinking and framing things in terms of what's your next move, it always keeps you in your power.
Yep.
You don't have to feel desperate. You don't have to feel like there's nowhere to go or nowhere to turn or no way out or anything like this. You just think to yourself, what's my next move? What's my next move?
I love it. And you guys don't worry. I'll have Arlene jump in the comments and drop the links too so you guys can see it. Yeah, I definitely drop in there, and you can catch up with people and you can share those links because everyone's going to want to check you out because the comments are blowing up. Like, they love you.
and if people have follow-up questions, just have them put them in the post here, and later on, I have another appointment in a couple minutes, but I'll come back to the post, and anybody who has questions, I'm more than happy to answer them there. And I write long, or maybe I'll record a little video to it or whatever, but I'm happy to answer any question that anybody has.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'll let you go. Thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate the invitation.
Yes. Have a great day. You guys, I'll be with you in just a second. Take care, Arlene. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Take care, Ed. Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, you guys. Was that not fire? Was that not fire? Like, that was amazing. So here's what I want you to do before we wrap up the show. If you need to know what kind of tools we've been using here, how this all went down, the pinned post has my Start Here page. It gives you a little journey with me. On there, I think it's number 3, but you'll find it. It says Ed Talk TV. That will take you to all the information about the show, trainings that are offered, and all the tools and equipment and all that stuff, and guest requests, because you can request to become a guest on here. What I want to make sure you do in the comments, even if you're watching the replay, make sure to tag us, Arlene, myself, and whoever else you're hanging out with, and that way we get notifications so that we can follow up with your to your questions, so we can answer your question or share our insight. That's key. And you'll see I have tagged Arlene in the post at the top. You'll see it. She'll drop her links later. As you heard, she has another appointment. So this was awesome. Like, this is the stuff that I like us to talk about and enjoy and be able to have that conversation, right? Also want to let you know that what we had wrapped up towards the end there was exactly what we've been talking about, right? Word of mouth marketing and just getting yourself out there, just talking, just having a conversation. And I will tell you, I looked at my calendar today and I had to check it twice because I think all next week we're booked solid with guests. Like, I just had somebody that was like, I had to, go a week or 2 out, and I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. I thought something was wrong with my thing. That's because we all show up, we all deliver, even you in the comments, even you watching the replay, and we engage with each other. That's what this is all about. And I just thank you guys. I can't thank you enough. So anyway, I am going to leave you here in just a second. Be sure to check out the pinned post or the pinned comment that has the link and all the info you need. And I hope to see you here tomorrow, back here, same time, same place, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. This episode is sponsored by Stupid Easy. Easily create, share, and sell your online courses. Discover more at stupideasy.com.